Hey there, welcome to episode 79 of the FFS Talk audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo, recording this at just slightly after 10 in the morning on Thursday, May 29, 2025. You can already tell the allergy season here in Greater Vegas is having its full effect. Hopefully my voice will last through the episode. I really gotta get back to my usual treatments for this, which I will talk about at some point in more detail, I suppose. It's not a big deal, but hopefully we can stay on topic today for the media diet. The media diet, what is that? Well, we'll get to that shortly. If you're not familiar with the FFS Talk audio program, it is intended to be a discussion, maybe even a mild debate of sorts, about what works, what does not, and what we might do about it. So far, every single episode has been me planting some seeds of discussion. So each week has been more of a monologue, some views on a particular topic from a particular perspective. Ideally, at some point, we can orchestrate some conversation to consider different ideas from different viewpoints and discuss. And again, it's really constructive. What works, what doesn't, what can we do about it? If you are not familiar with FFS, the abbreviation, if you're not familiar with what that stands for, maybe you need to hang out with more Irish people. Hopefully, wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, a summary that I will read to you, and the links for today's episode. 4 of the shameless self-promotion links, as usual, which I will, I'll try to cut that down to 2. Well, I mean, I could just cut it down to 2, but, and 3 links related to today's episode, total of 7. So let's get started so we can end. Summary of today's episode. In a world where a great many already found a typo, a great many of us can consume almost anything from a vast menu of written word, imagery, audio, video, produced by a diverse population of people, companies, and now artificial sources, we find ourselves in a time when we could choose from this tremendous collection of possibilities, but are we more often chosen instead? All right. Well, a little live editing there. Sorry. So chosen, what does that mean? Does that mean we're being hunted down by algorithms? Basically. The links for today's episode, the first 2, buymeacoffee.com/danhugo and /danhugo/posts. The profile page at Dan Hugo is the freeform link tree. It has links to all of my audio programs, a little bit of biographical information, links to my various projects, affiliate links to my favorite coffee beans, and a bunch of other stuff, just in case you were curious. If you would like to hear the Monday, usually Monday early, I'll say maybe morning, buy me an update, 5-minute or less microcast with a sort of a rundown of the previous week's audio program topics and any news and announcements for the coming week or weeks. Check that out at buymeacoffee.com/danhugo/posts. Also linked from the profile there. There's no obligation to spend any money here or at the next platform, Ko-fi.com. No obligation to spend money, but if you do, any proceeds do go towards coffee or coffee accessories, which is what powers all of my endeavors. Ko-fi.com, Ko-hyphen is the key next to the 0 on your keyboard, Ko-fi.com/Dan Hugo and /Dan Hugo/posts. The real thing would be the important part, I suppose, is the Coffee Solo program hosted exclusively at Ko-fi.com. Coffee Solo is a little play on a single espresso. Coffee Solo is a unscheduled, untopic constrained audio program published now and then, whenever, talking about whatever. You can find that exclusively at Ko-fi.com, Ko-fi.com/danhugo/posts. Check it out. Again, no obligation to spend any money. Just check it out. These are tools useful for connecting with your listeners, your viewers, your customers, your clients, your readers, whoever, your audience. And that's what I've been using them for many years, very passively. No, I'm not getting rich from coffee proceeds. Media consumption, a link on Wikipedia, is a synonym of media diet. It's what you compose what you consume and why. It's an interesting article. And as always with Wikipedia, a great place to begin researching a topic, not necessarily the best place to end. The Paradox of Choice book, also a Wikipedia link about the book. It's a book I read a long time ago. It was published, I think, in 2004. The take home, the thing that I find interesting is that it is a paradox. When there are few choices, people are typically not as pleased, so they will be drawn to more choices. If you only have the choice of chocolate or vanilla ice cream, and then you go to a place like Baskin Robbins, 31 choices. Wow, that's better, right? Unless at some point you say, I don't know which one to pick. There are too many. When there are too many, it's almost as difficult or frustrating as when there are too few. The Paradox of Choice. It's an interesting book. It doesn't get great ratings, and there are some possible concerns about reproducibility of some of the studies, but just taken as a notion, I think we've all been there. I don't know which one to pick. There are so many. I used to go to a Thai restaurant in Pomona, California, very near my college, a Sonamanuan Cafe. The menu was vast. I think there was like 100 items. How is that good for anyone? How can you possibly have a kitchen large enough to make 100 different things at any moment? But they did, and I think we probably had a total of maybe 15 of those, or maybe 20. Probably not. Probably more like 15 of the 100. So we kind of have to make do when we have that paradox to deal with. Finally, a link to a YouTube video if it ever disappears. I think it's been around for a few years, but the commercial itself, a Quest commercial from 1999. And we'll talk about that more later, soon, very soon, but later, after right now. So Quest commercial link on YouTube. I think it's a 31-second commercial from a different time, but except that it is now. What they were talking about in 1999 exists all around us. Get to that in a moment. So there you go. Those are the links. Check them out. So those Quest commercials, I've provided one example. There were several. I think I used to have a link that had them all compiled into a compilation of the Quest commercials that were touting. Well, just before the turn of the century, around 1999, a company called Quest, QWEST, was breaking new ground, literally, to deploy fiber optic networking, which in their consumer-facing messaging would enable normal people to see, for example, and this is the specific commercial, every movie ever made in every language, anytime, day or night. Turns out we're mostly there today with cable, DSL, and wireless connections. Your cell phone can handle, for the most part, more than 3G connection, hopefully LTE or so-called 5G. You can pretty much handle all of that. Stream video anytime, anywhere, anytime, day or night, most places on the planet. Nah, probably not most, but probably wherever you are right now. And we don't even have fiber broadly deployed for consumers. We're just beginning to get some traction on that. So we're there. Of course, the every language thing will come with AI doing automated translations and all that. So we're essentially there. Of course, we do not need to limit ourselves to movies in these modern times with so many content creation possibilities across all of the media, sometimes available immediately as real-time events are happening with commentary on all sides, with streamers jumping on. Like, I don't feel normal unless I'm streaming my comments and observations about something happening now. Creators and consumers can connect in these ways with devices many of us carry in our pockets, connected and ready at any time. And that really was a game changer when the so-called smartphone brought always-on connectivity to the vastness of the internets. Game changer. Didn't have to be an iPhone, just the notion itself, which BlackBerry was doing before that. So, big BlackBerry fan. This is truly an embarrassment of riches of a sort, but we may be overwhelmed by the paradox of choice. And again, a book that is reasonable. I read it a long time ago. It's food for thought at the very least, whether you agree with the studies and the results of those and so on. But if you really think about it, you've probably noticed some aspects of it either way, which in the context of media consumption might suggest that there are simply so many possibilities. We reach the famous conclusion from decades ago. You've probably said it yourself. There is nothing on. So enter the algorithm to help you out. When blogging, weblogging, if you've been out of that game for a while. When blogging first caught on, the notion of the blog roll came out, where one blog might have a list of other blogs that were related. You could probably download it as an OPML XML file, which is sort of an abomination at this point. They should be done away with. Things that were related, that were interested in, interesting. What am I doing here? Interested. Related or interesting with regard to what you were reading, what you were looking at, what you were consuming, and whatever else that anyone consuming the first blog might use to discover other suggested outlets. So if I'm reading a blog about airplanes and the person that is publishing this blog, or the person or entity, business, whatever it is, says, oh, by the way, here are some other similar publications, similar bloggers, whatever. Oh, those might be interesting because it's a vertical topic. So that worked pretty well at the time. As more and more blogs and then podcasts and later video content and streams and whatever else is coming along become available, it becomes less and less likely that something you might find interesting will be stumbled upon in a blog roll or similar reference or mention. I can mention links to things all day, but you would have to stumble upon this audio program and listen this far in before you said, oh, okay, there's a link. So put the links in the link section. Okay. You still have to get to those links. So then, there's kind of a stumble upon, which I think used to be an internet thing. Was it stumble upon? Let me take a brief interruption here. Stumble upon? I think that was a thing. Yeah. stumbleupon.com. See, I'm already giving you a link right now, which is now something called Mix from the Stumble Upon team. Interesting. I'll have to check that out. Anyway, so Stumble Upon is like a random, the link of the day, these old school methods, web rings. Oh, if I'm interested in this, I might be interested in the things that this is interested in, right? This blogger, this magazine, online magazine, etc. As more and more of these happened, more and more publications and types of media and topics and all that, you have to stumble upon these, and that just doesn't scale. I don't want to shock you, but the way all of this works, with hosting and more data files and delivering more and more data to various client devices and applications, every moment, the business model for these platforms appears to be dominated by advertising. The more ads, the better. So keeping any consumer consuming is the path to revenue. So keep recommending or suggesting more and more things that will likely get you to say, thank you, I will have another. In order to keep people interested, methods have been improving almost continuously to deliver what each person wants more of. So instead of resorting to a blog roll or me making a suggestion like stumbleupon.com, the algorithm will just present you with a bunch of where to go next, or it might just send you to the next thing, depending on the platform you are using. You might just get a nonstop stream of things that you will probably want to see because the algorithm knows who you are. There are some controversial views about dopamine and other neurochemicals coming into play here, about what excites you, what keeps you engaged, what makes you angry or happy or whatever. But suffice to say, the Doritos theory is one we can probably grasp and possibly agree with. No one can eat just one. So there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. A fine movie, of course, but the rule of three. The good news, we are probably discovering more useful things with algorithms than we would clicking on links as we encounter them or stumble upon them, as the case may be. Search engines and content platform recommendations are two examples. The former driven by your initiating some query describing what you are looking for. So you start the conversation, airplanes. And the latter driven by your previous consumption habits and trends, and it might even be something about the platform itself. Maybe it's a platform dedicated to airplanes. If you trust the presented results, you have probably found some success in either mode, whether you're doing a search engine search, or if you are participating on some sort of social network platform, you have various so-called friends, and you participate in the liking and the sharing and so on. And so there's a large data set that says, oh, these are the things you tend to share and like and interact with. So we'll just give you more of that. If you've derived value, the value you are seeking, all is well, that's great. That is good news. Unfortunately, that revenue generation thing always pops up, and it has become crystal clear, I hope, to you and me over the years that your derivation of value is mostly about that revenue generation and monetizing you, the product, as the saying goes. That is the primary goal. One of my favorite illustrations of this is the search engine versus social network platform comparison. Sort of like what I just did, except the search engine, say Google or Bing or whatever, presents a collection of results, the search engine result page, or SERP, collection of results, and sends you somewhere else. Here's a link that you can click on that will make you go away. The social network platform, Facebook, LinkedIn, by the way, LinkedIn, I don't know about Facebook, but LinkedIn penalizes posts if you have a link that leaves the LinkedIn website. They really want you to post original content, not link to your blog post. What does that tell you? A social network platform presents a collection of results from friends or contacts, more and more suggestions or paid advertisements, and attempts to keep you from leaving the platform. If you have ever tried to find the exit, another typo there, exist? No. If you ever tried to find the exit at a casino, you have a sense of how this works. No, don't go that way towards the exit. Nope, that's not even where the exit is. Tricked you. It's another slot machine. It gets ugly when the initial desire for content discovery and value derivation, that is, we find new stuff that piques our interest, answers our questions, and so on. So we're getting what we're looking for. I missed an S there. So I interrupted myself with a parenthetical. So it gets ugly. Initial desire, content discovery, and value derivation is used against us for the sake of revenue. And the platforms we are using begin to feed us the stuff that brings about a real response, usually the anger of disagreement, or even more lucrative, the anger of agreement. Confirmation bias is a powerful thing, especially when it comes to revenue generation. And this can literally divide people, as we have observed. So revenue wins, no matter how frustrated or angry the dinner table, the holiday gatherings of family, and so on become, because somebody likes Joe Rogan and somebody likes Sam Cedar or whoever, right? So we are hooked. It seems unlikely that we will move away from this mode on our own. We take what we're recommended thanks to the revenue sharing models put in place by platforms like YouTube and TikTok and others. Content creators earn some sort of a living from maintaining their views and engagements, that is, feeding their audience what they really want. The very notion that TikTok might not be allowed to function within the United States, for example, and that's recently comes into and out of the headlines. These have led to substantial consternation, to say the least. And this is the content creators that make the most noise, I think. But the content consumers are a large part of that equation. If not for the consumers, the creators would have nothing to do. So it's both. But you can't take away my living is a louder argument than you can't take away the thing that prevents me from making a good living. And who wants to quit their favorite thing cold turkey anyway? Who wants to quit at all? Anecdotally, whenever platforms finally, and this usually makes news, finally let you choose how their feed or suggestions are presented in some algorithmic scheme or in a chronological order, there is usually a preference for algorithmic selection, especially if suggestions for new sources or content are intermixed. In other words, our own selections presented to us in a natural order, the things that we have already explicitly said, I am interested in that, show me more of that. Okay, we'll show it to you as it becomes available in the order becomes available. Is not as appealing, maybe not as exciting as the possibilities provided by algorithms with their own agenda. It is difficult to put down the bag of Doritos, especially if it is filled with a variety of familiar and new flavors for as long as you choose to consume, versus the same old Dorito every time. I think that's what it is. Who doesn't want to have the, ooh, what's this? Reaction to something. Oh, this is something I've never seen before. Oh, this looks like something I'd be interested in. They got you. Is relying so much upon and spending so much time with the recommendations, the suggestions, the for you pages. Is this a bad thing? That probably depends on you. Are you killing time? Are you wasting time? Are you moving forward in some way, spending this time? Are you getting something out of this other than nothing? Are you thinking or being told what to think? Are you gaining insights or losing them? There are options. So this is the what can we do about it part. And basically the bad news is not much. To be honest, this is almost like saying, you know what, we should just stop tipping. The whole tipping economy is broken. We should switch to everybody gets a minimum. That's when you begin that argument. And remember, I'm speaking to you from the greater Vegas area. You will immediately, the room will go silent and people will begin searching for a weapon. Are you crazy? So changing, or if you wanted a more extreme example, starting tomorrow here in the United States, we're going to be switching. We'll be driving on the left side of the road, or in some countries, the proper side of the road. Yeah, those switches don't happen. They're just, it's too difficult. We're entrenched. It is a part of life. So yeah, what can any individual do? Clearly I'm not going to drive on the left side of the road, not for long anyway. Tipping, I do live in Vegas and I do go to the same places more than once, so you can figure that out. We can view a media diet as the menu of content types and topics we consume, and we can view it as a goal to go on a media diet, not to consider our media diet. So to go on a media diet of sorts is to limit that menu. So, and that's how diet works in general. Diet is what you eat. Going on a diet is going on a prescribed selection of things that you will eat, right? Whoever prescribes it. Obviously, what works for you is something you will need to determine, but consider whether limiting time, limiting topics, or limiting results might work. And those are just examples. You might have your own ideas, maybe in combination. That is, if you feel you're getting angry or otherwise affected, is it time to pause and do something else? Maybe. Has it been 3 or 4 hours of scrolling through political TikTok videos? And like, oh my God, I can't believe the time has passed. I really should have been watching the road while I'm driving. I should add here, and I have spoken of this previously, when we are considering, how about when we consider? I had both in mind. When we consider how younger people, especially really young people, are consuming and reacting to this sort of stuff, there is research. There are conflicting opinions about that research and the outcomes and the conclusions. And there are actual actions being taken, laws being passed and implemented right now and coming to impose limits and on whether young people can even possess a cell phone, a mobile device, while they are in school, for example. Age check requirements. You must be this old to view this website, which is profoundly difficult to implement and enforce in a useful way. And then just general limits. There are in the United States, there are First Amendment implications about limiting access to content, whether it's age checks or something else. So we get into some real questions about what is the right thing, what is the legal thing, what is the effective thing. And I'll interject here. I've commented on this before in a previous episode. The Anxious Generation. It was a book by what's his name? Haight. What's his name? Anxious Generation. I think it's Jonathan, of course. Jonathan Haidt. Haidt. Yeah. So there you go. So that person suggests that young people using social media and having an always-on connection to mobile devices has led to all manner of problems, and that may or may not be true. And so the advocacy from that angle is no mobile devices until you're at least 16. You can treat it as driving, maybe. But remember, when you're driving, you get your driver's license. Before you get your driver's license, in many places, you are allowed, encouraged even, sometimes required, to take a driver's ed class, so you can learn. You can do some learning, and you do this learning amongst your peers. So you're kind of in an environment where you're all kind of learning this sort of important skill where you could get into a device that could inflict damage on people, yourself and others. So you should take this somewhat seriously. But it's also sort of a rite of passage and everything. Well, driving, the ability to function with and around vehicles of various kinds, becomes a critical life skill in some ways forever after. So to me, limiting access to mobile devices is not the best solution if you assume that you're going, you're just putting off the inevitable. Somebody's going. So do you unleash this thing on people sooner or later? In my view, there should be some education around this. Make mobile devices and access to information more of a proactive component of the learning process. Use sites like Wikipedia to begin a learning journey. You shouldn't be using TikTok in a classroom, but why not Wikipedia, or why not, NASA if you're doing something about space, or why not other, there are a variety of deeply and profoundly valuable resources that one can access from a phone or a tablet. I think shutting those off is short-sighted thinking. But adults, we have to figure this out for ourselves. So as I may have hinted at, I consume a lot of nerdy content on the internets. So my content consumption, my media diet includes a lot of articles, a lot of nonfiction content, right? A lot of science, a lot of reference, some history, a lot of history actually. Unfortunately, also some politics of the day and so on. And those tend to be more inflammatory, which is not as fun. And you can quickly, if you're paying attention, you sort of notice, wow, I'm seeing nonstop political opinion and yelling debates and smackdowns and commentary on other people doing those things. And it's just a nonstop revenue generation stream of angst. So for my part, I found that on YouTube, for example, which is probably something I consume the most when it comes to video or like media content that I'm not reading, was feeding me nonstop politics, biased left, but some right on the political spectrum as well. I'm pretty much in the middle in general, depending on the issue. Sometimes I'm on the left, sometimes I'm on the right. All inflammatory, opining of all kinds, usually trying to evoke an emotional response. The Voight-Kampff test every day. This, if I allow YouTube to pick what I have presented to me while I work. In other words, there's a recommendations page. I might pick something from it and say, oh, that looks interesting. I could allow myself to be fed. I turned off the auto play option so it doesn't just stream nonstop of the topics it feels like. So I select from the recommendations page. So that's kind of not really a happy medium, but at least it's something of a proactive step. But I also, and so for example, while I'm preparing an audio program, I might have something on YouTube playing, some news of the day or whatever. But more recently, lately, movie reaction videos are interesting to me. That sounds weird. Combining some clips of movies, so I don't watch the Patreon full watch along and all that. Just play the supercut of your reactions and some of the movie clips within the fair use constraints and so on. And it's a movie I've probably seen. They're mostly movies I've seen a long time ago, contemporaneously, with commentary by people who have somehow avoided seeing these movies for decades. Case in point, there's many. I've seen at least 15 to 20 at this point, because I wanted to compare the reactions to 12 Angry Men, which is from 1957, I think it is. So how do you go 70 plus years not seeing one of the most popular movies of all time in the IMDb rankings and elsewhere? It is a good movie. So I find that interesting to watch, even though I had seen it, and the later version, I think from 1997 with George C. Scott. I recommend both. It's interesting to me to watch and see how people react, especially younger people. It's kind of a cultural comparison. I don't know how they've gone so long, though, without seeing. There are people that are like, I don't know how I went so long without seeing Jaws. Like, you're a movie fan and you didn't see, it's been 50 years and you didn't see Jaws once. And of course, they always know the references, the pop culture, the derivative movies that were inspired by these, et cetera, et cetera. I find these fascinating, though, somewhat insightful regarding culture and decidedly non-inflammatory. I've yet to watch any reaction video that left me thinking, I hate the other side. It just doesn't happen. They're always just interesting, very human. Given the way algorithms work, I don't even need to seek these out anymore. It's a given. YouTube feeds me movie reaction videos until I ask it to stop. And sometimes it complies. So there you go. I think, to sum it up, It has been an amazing achievement of humanity to turn a DARPA project for sharing research information about military and government contract work and other research in general, to connect those conversations for live and live interaction and for moving data around and whatnot, to turn that into something that enables you to watch nonstop anything, anywhere, all the time, in any language, essentially, day and night, is truly an achievement. It has connected the world in ways that probably unimaginable, even prior to Quest and their lofty goals. But at the same time, it has become divisive. It has become misleading sometimes. It has become dangerous in some cases. And I think if we allow ourselves to be fed what they want, because they want to make money, whatever the platform is, then we do become the product. We are the way that they generate the revenue. But I think it becomes something less than a benefit, something less than amazing. And so I personally encourage people to be selective in what they consume. Hopefully by consuming this episode, you are feeding yourself a nice diet with diverse opinions and so on. But I personally think that it is nothing but a good idea to be selective and to be deliberate in selecting what we do actually consume in this vast embarrassment of riches that we have before us. And there's only more. I don't remember the statistics, but YouTube is getting like 1 million years of content uploaded every 10 seconds or something close to that. No, it's not like that, but it is a huge number. It is profoundly amazing, and probably most of it is an absolute waste of time. And don't forget to go outside, as they say. Vitamin D is good for you, and it comes from the sun. Okay, that's where I'm going to leave it before I keep meandering on this ending that I'm trying to assemble. Take care. Thanks for listening as always, and we'll catch you next week. Don't forget to check out Coffee Solo, the Tuesday episode from 27 May, all about how I lost count of the 4 steps that I was descending and have now, let's just say I'm not moving around as quickly. Good times. Take care. Catch you next week. Bye-bye.